All right, welcome to April. Can you believe that? My goodness, April 1st. And yes, the Prez is going to be here. April Fools. Prez is not going to be here, and you can thank me later for that, as he has once again figured out a way to miss the show here, Art. But the good news is the fine folks viewing us right now get to hang with us here as we break it all down here. We got a lot going on as we start the month of April, and let's just April. Art, it's kind of hard to believe, but here we are. Final Four coming up this weekend. We got a couple extra college basketball games, a tournament that we're going to talk about, plenty of day Major League Baseball. So we got a little something for everybody as we kick off the month of April. It's crazy.
It is crazy, and I don't even want to say this, but when it hits April, I know there's an NFL draft at the end of the month. Then early in May, there's a schedule release. And once we get to that type, we're going to start putting up our NFL numbers. We're going to have win totals and, we're going to have all that stuff. So, that's when it's hard to believe. You really start to as much as we love baseball and we're going to be into the playoffs of both major sports, NBA and NHL, we're going to wrap this great tournament up. Yep. NFL is right around the corner.
It's going to be here. The greatest thing I heard this week in the NFL, and we'll talk a little bit in the prediction markets about a couple of different ways to approach Major League Baseball future markets, and I'm going to be interested with that NFL draft. But the best thing that I have heard is that the New York Jets are all in on Geno Smith, and that might be the best news, Art, because that means they won't do anything stupid like with the first draft pick, go get a Ty Simpson or something stupid along those lines. But it is the Jets, and there is still plenty of time for that. But we had plenty going on last night. A lot of NBA, a lot of baseball. Yankees get it done last night. But how did the books do across the board there, Art?
It actually was a losing night for the sports books.
Whoa.
And I know. And there's a guy in the comments who basically called me a donkey for giving out the Dominic the Donkey, the Italian Christmas donkey, basically called me that for giving out the of course you guys win every night. Well, we lost last night. Anytime the Yankees, the Lakers, and the Dodgers are all gonna win in the same night, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of parlays, a lot of straight money to those teams. So listen, was it a disastrous night? No, but it was a losing night for us.
First, mark it down here, folks. Losing night for the books. It does happen. See, Art's not telling you that they come in here, even though they got some brand new bathrooms they just afforded there from a couple of winning nights, but that's okay, Art. Well, listen, tonight, interesting. You got plenty of NBA going on again here tonight. We got a lot of afternoon baseball. So kick off where you're seeing the money going in the MLB for some of these either early games or the handful that are late afternoon and early evening here.
Yeah, some of the late stuff, we've moved the Dodgers significantly this morning from minus 240 to minus 270, fighting parlays again on that. Actually saw some sharp money on the Twins, Royals over 8.5 at even money. We only went to over minus 115. Sometimes, if that's over 8.5, minus 115 or minus 120, you're going to move to 9. We just haven't done that yet. We moved the juice. Maybe if we get piled up a little bit more on that, we will move the number to 9. Have not done that yet.
Interesting stuff there. A couple of big pitching matchups again today. I know Boston and Crochet going Skeens. By the time folks watch this, we'll be underway here, but I got to imagine Skeens probably going to last longer than he did against the Mets to open the season. Art, is that a fair assumption?
I think it's a fair assumption. I'm not going to go out and stand on my soapbox and say he's at a cheap price today because last time I did that, I think he got one out. So I'm going to move on from the Skeens prediction market. But yeah, listen, anytime the big pitchers are pitching, they're going to take money. You always have to fight against that because there are people who just come in and say, oh, look, these are 3 of the best pitchers in the league. Let me do a 2 or 3 teamer on them and just, try to line it up that way, or maybe even first 5 it, whatever the case may be. Even parlay, no runs in the first inning. You see that as
Yep.
well. So, you always have that when you have all these aces going on the same day.
Yeah, a lot of getaway. Our first real getaway game here, too, in Major League
Mm-hmm.
Baseball. Used to be that the strike zone got bigger, right? Guys would swing more, like, let's get the hell out of Dodge here. But the new ABS system is going to be interesting to see what it does for getaway games here. Skubal on the mound, Yamamoto on the mound, Miz on the mound for Milwaukee. Yeah, a lot of good pitching matchups here today on the card. And you mentioned earlier, we got a new basketball tournament in your neck of the woods getting ready to start here. The Crown and Oklahoma and Colorado appear to be it's the biggest move I've seen in these tournaments. I don't know if you've had a bigger one, but I think a lot of that has to do with apparently nobody's opted out for Oklahoma. Nigel Pat, all their big guys are in this game. So are you still seeing money on them against Colorado tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we opened 7, we're 9.5 now,
Wow.
and who knows? By tip, maybe we get to double digits, maybe we get to 10. We saw a little bit of Baylor money too. We were 3, we're now 4. But you're right, that Oklahoma move is huge.
Ooh.
And when something like that happens too, Oklahoma's going to be big in the money line parlays tonight. So listen, we'll be rooting for Colorado in the game. I don't think there's any question.
I can't think of anything worse to have to root for. Colorado football or Colorado basketball this season. Not a good situation there. How about in the NBA? Art, a lot of, anytime I see, let's see, Houston's only laying 17. That's not bad. The Knicks I don't know why the Knicks are laying, it opened 16 and a half. Why are they laying over 2 touchdowns against anybody? But it's one of those nights. Here we go. Utah getting 100. Like what do you got going on in the association tonight?
I mentioned this yesterday and even last week. When you're going to see those huge ones, everyone's now going to money line parlay those and try to get to as close as even money as they can. And, throw a different sport in there. Just try to get to something that's minus 110. They're going to try their hardest to do it. The only real move for us was we saw some Nuggets over money, 247 to 249. But, it's tough when you got all these big favorites because I've always said they're not going to take the points. They're maybe going to throw $10 on the dog, but, you're fighting against the $5,000 and $10,000 money line parlays on the big favorites.
Yeah, kind of. It's they're coming because there's nowhere else to go here in in the NBA except down. That's for sure here. But a lot of tanking teams, a lot of big numbers, but some really good games too, right? I mean, listen, we saw last night Portland stepping up, taking on the Clippers in a big game. Boston's on its way to Miami to take on the Heat. Bigger game from Miami than necessarily Boston, that is for sure here. But it feels like in a game like that, Art, it's one of two things. Either Boston wins and covers or the Heat win outright. It just feels like it's a blowout one way or the other. I'm not even sure the spread comes into play here tonight. But not a whole lot of movement from the overnight here. Are you seeing anything in that game?
No, you're right. And, the overnight movement has been like kind of, for I would say the last month, it's kind of been slow to a crawl here. Even some games where we're maybe a little iffy, we've tried to not put an overnight out because we don't just want to be, sitting there and get picked off. We don't mind just saying, hey, we'll throw it up at 5:00 in the morning, when we resume business, all that type of stuff. So we've tried to be careful. Now, we're not doing it every day, but, sometimes you just have to, you got to be smart when you're booking these games. You can't just say, well, a couple places have it, we got to throw it up there. No,
yes.
I mean, especially at the end of the year here, where people who are very smart are going to look to find some angles and maybe, like I said, pick us off. So we're not going to just allow that to happen.
Yeah, no, you don't, and don't be first sometimes, Art. There's better opportunities to look at it. NHL 2 here tonight, Art. There's 3 games on the board tonight. What were you, any sort of moves one way or the other there?
Yeah, out of the 3 games, really the only move we saw was Blues money, plus 128, now down to plus 120. They are at the Kings. That's a huge game in the West. Both those teams are fighting to look to make the wild card. So huge game with playoff implication, and they took the dog early in that game.
Unbelievable. As I'm laughing as I'm watching, we might actually have a 250 tonight here with Indiana and Chicago right now, as that's hovering around 248 and a half. Would not shock me. And you know what, Art? In some of these games in the NBA, I'm shocked we haven't gotten more 250s, if we're being completely honest with you with the books, because nobody's playing defense in the final 6 or 7 games. And there is nothing funnier than watching two teams trying to lose and think they're going to play any defense. I don't think you're going to get any. Call me crazy. Don't think they might be some of the best entertaining games that you get on the board here tonight. But we're starting to see a lot of the board light up. It's a lot of stuff going on across the board. Final Four action. Are you getting nothing from yesterday? I'm guessing, right? Everything looks like it's pretty much the same as it was 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I think when we do our show Friday, obviously that'll be our last chance to talk about it, but I think really we'll have more of a kind of, feel for, ticket count and money count and kind of where everyone's leaning and what our needs are going to be. Right now, I feel like both games have taken pretty good two-way action. I'd mentioned especially that Illinois UConn game yesterday where they were laying 2, but then when it was 2.5, they were taking 2.5 with UConn. So that's seen really great two-way action. And despite Michigan opening at pick and now we're 2, we never really got hit at pick or 1. We just kind of were moving with the market on that. And now you see people, hey, I'll lay 2 at Michigan. I'll take plus 110 with, Arizona on the money line. So you see a lot of that.
Yeah, and listen, we're not expecting anything crazy one way or the other,
No.
right? I mean, it is what it is at this point. And the public money usually comes in when? Art, Friday?
Friday, Saturday too. But yeah, you're right, Joe. I think we're going to sit here and outside something major happening, I think these lines, which are both right now for us at 2, they're going to go from anywhere from as low as 1.5 to as high as 2.5. I think we're just going to be there. Yeah. That's where we're going to go. We're going to bounce back and forth. The totals will probably bounce up and down a point and a half here and there. So I think kind of right now, these numbers are your numbers.
Yeah, I think what you see is what you're going to get. Maybe the totals, are you expecting maybe a couple of points one way or the other?
Yeah, I think so. Especially the Michigan over, 156.5. We went to 147.5. I think the public's going to look at that total and go, oh, well, these teams, they both score like 100 points a game.
Yeah.
That feels low. I think they're going to bet that total up.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more movement in the total market than we will in the side there. But listen, in the side at this point, just pick the winner, Art. I mean, at these price points, just pick the winner. Forget about the spreads. Just go to the money. And the money lines aren't too out of control, right? What, 130, Art, maybe? 135?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm with you. I even me who, when I put a bet down at this point in the season, even in the Sweet 16 or an Elite 8, and it's a tight spread like that, it's a bucket. I'm just the money line. I don't want to get caught in a spot where my team wins the game by 1 or wins the game, and you just get screwed on a point spread. I'm with you. Just lay the money line. It's just, that's what you're going to see. And I think that's going to happen. I will say this, it's rare, but I could see too, UConn and Arizona getting teased up.
Yes, I agree.
Couple of 2-team 5-point teasers. We do 4, 5, and 6, and I could see that happening as well, where, you get into a point now where you could tease both those dogs up to, 3 or 4 baskets. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's the next couple of days is going to be fun. There'll be some opportunities. I don't think there's any rush one way or the other, but yes, keep an eye on these markets, because the Final Four will be here, and then of course the championship on Monday. All right, guys, don't forget we got Parlay today coming up here. Art, how did we do yesterday? I dare to ask how we did on our 2-teamer there.
You won your Laker bet, and I laid the 1.5 with the Phillies, and they only won. They were up 3-0 in the 6th, and they gave up 2 garbage runs, so they did not cover the run line. But you did hit your Laker one easy.
Laker gun was good to go yesterday.
Easy.
So we got another opportunity for you here today, and it's again plenty of spots to go here. Art, where are you thinking about going on the board tonight?
I'm going to fade the movement in that King game. I'm going to take the Kings. Kings at home. They've been bad at home. But once again, we talked about these must-win spots. Games are starting to dwindle for the Kings. Kings need this in the worst way. Lay 130 with the Kings at home.
Woo, laying 130 with the Kings at home. All right, I'm going to go back to the association, Art, because there seems to be a trend going on with one team in the association, and that team is the San Antonio Spurs. And it's a great, fantastic trend here, Art. They have it down to a science. Here's what they do. You ready? They beat the living piss out of you in the first half, so nobody has to play in the fourth quarter. And that's how it works with them. It's great. They got a 30-point lead by the time midway through the third quarter, and they're good to go. Wemby and they can all just hang out in the fourth quarter and not have to play. Golden State doesn't have Porzingis going tonight. They don't have anybody. Got Melton has already been ruled out. Steph is going to try to play this weekend. Yeah, sorry. I'll take San Antonio in the first half. All right, I think San Antonio does what they've done all year long, and that is boat race the Golden State Warriors in the first half of that game. So I'll lay it there. I think it's 7.5, 8 points. I see them having a double-digit lead by the time we get to the third quarter. Art.
I was going to say that also fits. I feel like you've been very anti-Warriors all year, which makes sense because they've been awful. And we've talked about this. They're still priced like they're the Warriors. Now, listen, obviously, when you're getting 7.5, 8 points in the first half, you're not, but you're going against maybe the best team in the league, second best team in the league. But yeah, it's funny how those Warrior prices, they still get all this respect in the market, which is, pretty funny.
I'm shocked. I mean, by the way, San Antonio, number one ATS team this year, number one ATS team in the first half this year, and number one ATS team on the road this year. Amazing. Are the San Antonio Spurs. And we're still getting them. This should be double digits altogether. No, absolutely not there. All right, so there we got it. Time to go 2-0 here today, Art, for the parlay of the day. Now let's dive into some predictive markets here, Art, because let's talk some Major League Baseball, because baseball is interesting the way you can approach these predictive markets, because unlike some of the other markets where we're going, hey, short term, if I can get in at this price, can I get out at this price in 24, 48, 72 hours kind of thing. Predictive markets in Major League Baseball, again, the whole goal isn't to hold on to it for all 162 games until September. But there are going to be spots, I think, where you can buy in on some teams at a low price, or players and award markets and those types of things. You can buy in them at a good price now. The markets fluctuate so crazy in Major League Baseball with the predictives, Art. If you get a team or a guy that goes 1 for 23, you know what the odds are of, Judge or somebody? Everybody's market and the price fluctuate based upon short-term either misery or short-term you can't get the guy out or you can't hit this guy. So those types of things really give you the opportunity to buy low and then sell high all throughout the season here. And you and I were laughing, like, some of these prices for the team who will have the worst record in Major League Baseball when it's said and done. It is going to be one of these four teams, Art. Who are we kidding?
Yes.
It's going to be Colorado. It's going to be the White Sox. It's going to be Minnesota. It's going to be Washington. But there are going to be stretches. I mean, right now you got Colorado. Everyone seems to think they're going to be. But there's going to be a stretch where either the White Sox or the Nats maybe go, oh boy, they're on an 8-game, 9-game losing streak. And then guess what happens? This market goes through the roof. Now, it's going to be one of those four. The Nats are not going to keep hitting like we've watched them hit here, but it doesn't feel like I can just crown Colorado as the worst of the worst by the end of this year. Do you, Art?
I mean, Colorado, being the favorite, obviously off their historic year last year, and not historic in a good way, but, I don't love Minnesota. I think they're bad, but I think the division you can work with a little bit. You look at a team like the White Sox, I think you're going to score a lot of runs, but they're pitching a little spotty, and, they've already proven early in this year where, they had that game against Milwaukee. They were up 7-2, they lost 9-7.
Yes.
I mean, that's going to happen in some White Sox games. And listen, the Brewers are a great team and they were at home, but you can't lose those games if you're the White Sox. I think it's like you said, it's the Nats. That team who was so bad last year, and they've gotten off to a decent start this year. The division's tough. Obviously, you got the three big boys up top with the Mets, Phillies, and the Braves. And I think the Marlins have shown early, and they showed it last year with that manager. They're going to be spunky and they're going to be tough. We know they have young pitching. Now, the Marlins might get into trade mode middle of the year and start to trade guys. That's possible. But I think if you look at someone outside of the Rockies and you look at those other three, to me, it would be the Nationals.
Yes, I agree with you. And simply, Art, because there's going to be a stretch where the Nats are going to be absolutely awful. And at right now, at 7%, well, I guarantee we're going to be able to sell out at a much better price at some stretch here, which is why we love the predictive markets here. Now, interesting. How about teams making the playoffs? And this is another one of those prices are going to fluctuate depending on what happens this month and in May and around the trade deadline, Art, right? Who's going to make those trades for the guys trying to get in there? So we do have a couple of extra, obviously, teams that can make the postseason. But, man, when you look at some of the prices, the Dodgers already at 97 cents, Art, which the market is telling us they're making it, forget it. But as you start getting down here a little bit, Toronto, Milwaukee right now, 62 cents. The Cubs, who, by the way, can't hit water if they fell out of a boat, are some of these no prices. Who sticks out about as far as maybe fading that they won't make the playoffs? Atlanta is interesting to me with a 37-cent no. That they won't make the playoffs here. Who are some of these teams that we know are in it, and some of these teams that we think, I think the price is a little bit too high here on some of them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Atlanta. Obviously, you would think Atlanta will get there, but the pitching has to concern you because they're coming into the year with all the injuries.
Yep.
And we just mentioned how good the division can be. So the Braves are interesting. One team that I really like in the NL and a team who's, going to be lower on the board, but a team who's young and has young pitching, I think the Pirates have a real chance to make the playoffs.
Interesting.
I think, they obviously added some bats. They added Brendan Lau, they added Ozuna. Obviously you need O'Neal Cruz to have a big year. We know Connor Griffin's going to come up at some point. And with that pitching, Bubba pitched yesterday. We know what Skeens can be. I think you can work with that division. I think the Pirates are an interesting team for a team to say, yes, they can go make the playoffs.
Look at that. Art, right now, 35, 36 cents right now for Pittsburgh to make the playoffs. And it was funny. And I agree with you because I don't trust that division as far as I can throw them. Why not them?
Mm-hmm.
But Cincinnati is priced in that category as well. I think Kansas City's at just about even money, I think, 50 cents right here.
Yep.
I think Kansas City's a little underpriced. I do think that they're going to have, with that starting pitching staff, I think if you can get in at 50 cents right now, I do think by the time we get to, June or July with them leading or being right up Detroit's ass, I think there's going to be an opportunity to be able to hedge out of that and make yourself a nice profit. But what about Tampa Bay? Are we just not the Clevelands, the Arizonas, all trading at 30 cents or less here? Are we buying maybe they have an opportunity? I mean, nobody thought Cleveland was making anything last year.
No, yeah, Cleveland's one of those teams where every year they're almost like the Brewers, even though the Brewers go and win the division every year. But you're like, all right, this is the year they fall off and they're just always good. Arizona's an interesting team to look at for a yes. I don't hate looking at them to be a team who could go make it. And I love that Royal play. I think the Royals, who people forgot, what was it, 2 years ago they made the playoffs.
Yep.
And lost to the Yankees. Last year, it's not like they were bad. They just, they never really got on track. And I think this year, and their win total showed you that this year, where, you were sitting at a win total of like 82.5, 83.5, showing that this is a team who's going to compete and make the playoffs. So I think the Royals are, that's one definitely to keep your eye on as well.
What do you think, Art, about also the Cy Young market? I think is interesting too, because you know, if you look at some of the prices and some of the guys, like, is there any reason not to think Tariq Skubal is going to be in the conversation once again to get it, right? Art, is there any reason to think that Paul Skeens? My question is, and I'll pull up the prices here for some of these awards markets. Let me see if I can get you. What about, everyone is so focused on Ohtani being the MVP. What about Ohtani as the Cy Young winner? Is that a market not worth looking at? Or is Yamamoto, who's trading at 16 cents right now, Ohtani's trading at 19 cents. Skeens is your favorite at 27, but right behind him is Sanchez of Philadelphia. Chris Sale, Miz over in Milwaukee. Like, some of these guys are single digits.
Where's Fried at?
Let's see here.
He pitched great last night, and obviously right now he's their ace.
Oh, that's the American League. Hold on, let me get to the American League.
Yeah, the American League. And listen, I know wins don't matter anymore, but he won 19 games last year. I mean, wins don't. You could win 10 games to win the Cy Young, but
it's a good
I mean, Fried's one of those guys, and he's a Yankee.
He's third.
So
15 cents right now. 50. Right, and this is an interesting. Crochet is only 19 cents. Scooble is your favorite at 24 cents, and then you got Hunter Brown at 9 cents. I don't need him to win it.
I'm a Yankee fan, but I kind of like that Max Fried.
If Fried, all of a sudden, by the time Cole gets back, is 8-0, 9-0. He's got a sub-3 ERA. He's rolling. He's striking guys out. He's not, and the Yankees are winning. If you get in at 15 cents, at some point there's a good shot. You got to believe that he's going to hit the 30-cent to 40-cent mark. And same thing, listen, even Crochet is trading at 19 cents right now.
I mean, and that, now listen, I love Fried, but Crochet probably has a better chance to win.
Correct.
Fried, to me, would be like you said. He'd be a guy, you buy him now, and hopefully in 2 months you've doubled. Like you said, it goes from 15 to 30 cents, and you just get out, because he probably doesn't win. But you can make a little bit of money. And, like we said with these baseball ones, they're probably longer holds than some of these NBA and NHL ones we've been talking about recently. But, maybe you can get someone who just gets hot early in the year. And Fried will have a great year, but maybe he really does, like you said, start off 7, 8, 9-0. And you're like, all right, let me dump out now.
Yes.
Possible.
Yeah. I am with you. I mean, 2 separate markets here in Major League Baseball we're talking about with predictives, right? You're talking about the long-term, bet it. Listen, at Scooble at 24 cents, I'm locking it in because I know all things at some point he's going to be the odds-on favorite. He's going to be 50 cents. I'm going to be able to double that price. And then there's the markets that, all right, the next 1 week to 2 weeks, right? What markets can I jump in here that are going to completely overreact to everything that they see, and we can buy low and we can sell high? I don't think Skeens is the guaranteed winner, by the way, for the Cy Young in the National League either. I think there are spots, some guys further down the board, and I think Ohtani, or is Ohtani going to siphon votes from and money from Yamamoto, who has also got a pretty good shot.
They split votes, Right?
Is that the other issue?
Yeah, that's the old thing where the teammates could split votes, and that could happen. But I mean, you mentioned the volatilities of these award markets. No market is more volatile than the Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yes.
I mean, a rookie has one game where he goes 1 for 4 with a home run. He's now in the top 5. Like, it's so insane, the Rookie of the Year one. That is actually the market where if you can kind of sense a guy getting hot, I mean, look at a guy like Chase DeLauder, who, I mean, forget it. He's now at the top of the American League board. Guys in the NL, who he was up there anyway, but Sal Stewart. I mean, his numbers have gotten cut in half, I mean, he was like 8-1. Now he's like plus 350, 3-1 in that range. That is one of those markets where you can maybe have a handful of guys, make a bunch of money, maybe hold a guy you like. And I feel like you can make a ton of money in the Rookie of the Year ones. You just got to really stay up on the rookies because it fluctuates so much. And I know just from being in the back room and having a book that, American League and National League Rookie of the Year market, it's tough to stay ahead of.
McGonigal of Detroit, who's crushing it, is your favorite now at 32 cents. Murakami there of the White Sox, who nobody will know, but he's and the Louder you talked about from Cleveland, yeah. And these markets are going to these guys. You know, when they're hitting 600 over a 2-week stretch, or they got this market is going to go through the roof here with some of these guys. So yeah, but there are a number of guys that are very much eligible here, Art, that I think now might not be the bad time to jump in on.
No, and you know what happened last year? And I remember doing this with the Kansas City kid, the kid from Florida, Caglianon.
Yes.
If you bet some guys before they get called up,
yes,
you know, and they come up, like I remember doing this last year, and I think I bet him at like 20-1. And then a week after he was called up, he was like 8-1, and I got like basically triple the amount for a cash out, and I just cashed out.
And you
I just said, you know what?
Brilliant.
I just got out of it. And I was going, you know what? He's not going to win, but I got a good price. I was kind of ahead of him getting called up. Let me get in now. And I like tripled my money. So, I mean, you know, we're not talking a lot. I put $100 on it and they cashed me out at like, I don't know, 275. And I was like, great. This is awesome. I think, especially too with that rookie of the year market, you can kind of get ahead of that. You know, when Connor Griffin's going to get called up, he's going to get hot maybe early. And listen, he's going to be
15 cents. I'm sorry. Is he? Yeah, he's 15 cents right now with Pittsburgh. Yeah. And he's not even in.
Because everyone forgot about him.
Exactly.
Everybody's forgot about him because all the other guys in the National League, your Sal Stewart, I mean, the kid from, what's his name? JJ from the Cardinals. He's had a great start. Yeah. Weatherholt, he's had a great start. And then you're going to throw this Griffin kid in who's the number one prospect in baseball, and people are going to go, oh, wait, hold on, we forgot about him. So there are some things you could do with that as well when kids get called up. I think that's an excellent way to approach it as well.
Yeah, Benja there with the Mets, 9 cents. Bubba Chandler's another guy at Pittsburgh. Don't forget how many draft picks that they've had at the top of the board here. Even Andrew Painter right now, who we just got to watch last night for Philadelphia, is at 10 cents.
That's well.
But listen, Weatherholt, I don't know how Nolan McLean is registered as a rookie still, I guess, because they called him up late last year. But I mean, look at even that price there at 17 cents. But yeah, there are some guys here that you can just stash. And the minute they get called up, that overreaction, oh boy, Connor Griffin, 15 cents. If he goes, 5 or 6 games, he's hitting 400 and, smacks a couple of home runs, forget about it. It's going to go through the roof. So, these are great markets to invest in, to hold on to. And, there you can make yourself a nice profit with Major League Baseball because it's so long and it's cyclical, really, these markets aren't. You buy low one day, you can sell high in 30 days down the road, and you're good to go. So, love it with Major League Baseball and the predictive markets. But don't get caught up in the idea that Connor Griffin has to win Rookie of the Year. That's not the point. Nobody cares. Like, I wish he would. Great.
He's just got to win the week he gets called up. That's
Thank you very much, Art.
That's it. If he wins the week he gets called up, you make money. That's it. Exactly, he has 2-3 good games, and people go nuts. So, that Rookie of the Year market is actually made for the predictive market.
Correct. And same thing on the, if some of these guys get so hot, they're going to be overvalued. The no market coming back on the no is another great opportunity. So that's what makes this a whole lot of fun here. It's why we love Major League Baseball. In addition to your sides and totals and your daily opportunities to jump in, prop bets one way or the other, these predictive markets offer you a lot of leverage throughout a 162-game grind, Art, that you know what? I invested at this price, time to sell at this price, and I don't have to worry about getting crushed because what the book would offer you on some of these payouts is nothing like what you'd be able to get here at the predictive markets. Buy low and sell high here. Love that, Art. As a matter of fact, I just bought Connor Griffin at 15 cents, so let's see where that goes.
Love it.
Just need him to be hot for a couple of weeks when he gets called up. That's his right. What else you got going on there, Art, over at the book? I know it's going to be a crazy weekend. I know a couple of guys had asked. We're going to do some UFC on Friday. You're going to remember that for us as well?
100%. I will not forget UFC this Friday, and obviously Friday we'll do our last wrap-up of the Final Four, but definitely UFC Friday tomorrow. Obviously, more of the daily stuff going on, and yeah, I mean, listen, we're really starting to get into the nitty gritty of this because once we get to the playoffs in the two big sports, NBA and NHL, like I said yesterday, it's going to be great to break down these NBA and NHL playoff cards every day because we're going to have a handful of games in each sport, and it's going to be fun to do. It's almost going to be like going back to football, days where it's like, all right, we got two big games. Let's break these down, all that type of stuff. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up.
And I can tell you now, the predictive markets for the NBA playoffs, for the NHL, we're gonna have a lot of different avenues for you guys to be able to get in, get out, but at the same time, be able to create a whole lot of leverage in what you guys want to do here over the next 2 months of. Let's face it. I mean, both of those playoffs are to what, 2 months? Basically, we're not getting ready to.
Oh yeah, I mean, you start mid-April, you end mid-June, so you got 2 months of fucking, great action.
Ton of bets coming your way. So yeah, great 2-month investments coming your way here. So that's what it's all about. Art, always a pleasure, brother. We may see Prez, we may not tomorrow. Who the hell knows? But we'll definitely see you tomorrow as we'll do it once again. So enjoy it, Art. Appreciate the time as always, my friend. All right, I want to thank Art DeCesar once again. He'll be back tomorrow. And yes, the little birdie has actually told me the Prez might actually be back tomorrow. But in the meantime, we do have a little business here to tell you about. You heard me mention it. It's all about the NBA regular season coming to a close and the playoffs getting ready to start. And now would be a really good opportunity for you guys to take advantage of the offer they've got going on here. Lock in the playoffs. Get the rest of the regular season for free by locking in the postseason now at just $199. That's normally $249, guys. Take advantage of this offer now. Get every play from now through the end of the regular season, as well as every play in the postseason at your favorite handicappers page there at WagerTalk.com. Yes, I absolutely have not one, I believe 2 plays locked in on the NBA here tonight. Both of those are available at WagerTalk.com to go along with my very first 5% Major League Baseball top play here today. Didn't have one at all last year, guys, and I was one of the top Major League Baseball profit leaders last year. 62.7% of my plays we cashed on last year. Not one of them was a 5% best bet. So needless to say, like this spot, and I love it a lot to start the season. So you can grab that play over at WagerTalk.com. I don't throw many of those out there. So when I do have them, guys, it's for damn good reason. So hop on board if you like. Visit my page over at WagerTalk.com. And don't forget, of course, a couple opportunities. Get a 3-day pass there for $49. The triple play. You can get every Major League Baseball play, including the 5% tonight over the next 3 days. So take advantage of that, guys. All available at WagerTalk.com. Let's partner up and let's win together while we get ready to run down some of these Major League Baseball scores. And let's see what we've got here. I'm going to focus on just the games that by the time you guys are seeing this and by the time it gets posted, we're probably going to be in the late afternoon. So let's go. Red Sox Astros today. 2 o'clock Eastern time start, it looks like there. We've got Crochet versus Burrows. Crochet needs to be the number 1 pitcher that the Red Sox need him to be. They got to stop the bleeding. He did win that opening game against the Reds to start the year, but after that, the Red Sox have lost a couple of nail-biters, and they are just getting destroyed by the Astros there. And let's face it, they need their number 1 to show up and show up big. I think he gets that done here today for the Red Sox. The Cubs, same situation. Listen, the weather was terrible last night for both teams, but that's no excuse for the Cubs to only have 2 hits in their own home ballpark there and lose 2-0 against the lowly Angels. Boyd against Kikuchi. Like Boyd to get it done. I do expect the Cubs to bounce back here. Skubal against Zach Gallen a little bit later this afternoon. That should be a fun one in Arizona. Needless to say, it is kind of tough to look anyway, but towards Tariq Skubal and maybe a first 5 under in that. But I might look to lay that half a run with the Tigers in the first 5 against Zach Gallen, who's been known to walk a few guys. The Yankees, Schlittler versus Kirby. I think this lineup of the Yankees is much better currently than the lineup of the Mariners. I like the Yankees to get another one done here. I do like the Padres, in fact, with Pivetta on the mound taking on Hauser. I think Pivetta could get it done here today at home. He loves pitching at home. And the Dodgers taking on the Guardians, Yamamoto versus Williams. Good luck, guys. You want to lay 270? Not me. I would likely look at the Guardians team total under in that one there. All right, let's shift it over to college basketball. Now, you heard Art say we've got a couple of interesting games going on here tonight. One of them is in this Crown tournament in Vegas here. 2 games, in fact. One involving the Oklahoma Sooners taking on the Colorado Buffaloes. And we mentioned that line has gone through the roof, but with good reason. Oklahoma has all of its guys back, including Nigel Pack and Xavier Brown there. Their 2 top scorers. Now, listen, it took Porter Moser in Oklahoma, unfortunately, a little too late towards the end of the season, but they were a much better team, Oklahoma. They lost so many one-possession games this year that it was tough, but this is a very, very good team. Tab Boyle and what they've got going on at Colorado, this is a tournament where if you're confident on who's actually playing and not opting out, then I think you can see why the market is moving towards Oklahoma in this one. And when you got Baylor coming up a little bit later after that in Vegas taking on Minnesota, 2 different styles, but 2 disappointing seasons, both for the Baylor Bears and the Gophers here. I'm seeing a lot of love in the marketplace for the total here. I saw a little steam come in just about 30 minutes ago here as of taping on the over, which makes sense because neither of these 2 teams were great defensively. None of them were consistent offensively. But in Vegas, in a tournament set up like this, chances are we're going to get less defense and a lot more let it rip here. And I think that's exactly what you're going to get from both these teams. It's been a while since they've played, but I don't think we're going to see anybody lock anybody down in this game. I do like the over tonight with the Baylor Bears taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers in that one. All right, let's switch it over to the NBA here tonight because, look at the board here. Some of these prices and some of these lines are just absolutely absurd. But welcome to March in a tanking NBA. Good games here tonight. How about Atlanta taking on the Orlando Magic? Magic got it done against Phoenix last night. Caught Phoenix on the second of a back-to-back. Tough spot for them, but the Magic finally got a couple of stops and made a few buckets. It of course, helped that Phoenix was absolutely horrific from three-point range. 14 of 47, I think they were. That'll do it. I don't think they're doing it again tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, though. So, I would lay it with the Hawks in that one. I also don't mind taking the 76ers here. 13 and a half. The Wizards have no interest in playing any sort of competitive basketball. I think the Sixers bounce back from that disgusting loss to the Miami Heat. Speaking of the Heat, they're taking on the Celtics here tonight. We're starting to see some Heat money come in. Jason Tatum, he's a go here, but this feels like if the Celtics are going to win this game, then it feels like the under is the way to go here. 228 and a half seems to be a little too much for me. Norman Powell, by the way, upper respiratory problem, won't be in this matchup tonight for the Heat, but I do think an under is in store here with the way the Celtics have been playing defense. I think the Bulls and Pacers is just, roll out the popcorn machine and have a good time because nobody is playing defense in that game. I would not sweat out an under there. I do think the Rockets are really starting to play well, but I am not laying 17 with them on the second of a back-to-back against even the Milwaukee Bucks. The Knicks should not be laying 15 against the Grizzlies. I think the Raptors can bounce back against the Kings. I will take the over in the Nuggets and Jazz. And you heard me tell you the Spurs in the first half over the Warriors. And don't forget about that great deal going on right now, guys, at WagerTalk.com. Get the rest of the regular season for free by investing in locking in the postseason. That's right. Get all of the playoffs, all access, every play, including all 5% best bets, including whatever you have here coming up for the rest of the regular season for $199. Save, guys. Lock yourself in on what is going to be one hell of an NBA playoffs here. Ultimately, will it be OKC? Will it be the Lakers? Will it be San Antonio coming out of the West? Is Boston got enough to get it done? A lot of great questions, and it should be actually some fun where we don't have tanking involved anymore. That is what I am looking for. So take advantage of that, guys. $199, lock it in here today. Don't forget that 5% Major League Baseball, very first one for me, is locked and loaded, ready to roll on my page at WagerTalk.com. Plenty of day baseball. Enjoy it today, guys. Make sure you plan on coming back and joining us again tomorrow. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop us in the comments what's your favorite play of the day here today. Is it in Major League Baseball? Is it in the NBA? Are you on board with Art and one of those 3 NHL games? Drop that below in the comments and come back and join us again tomorrow. Enjoy the games here today. Let's cash some tickets, and we'll see you again on the best betting show ever. Have a good one.